Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another In Conversation With. We had a week off last week. We were in Cornwall, so it is good to be back with you. And thank you for those that are listening. It's always good to hear from you. Do you want to say hello as well?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, it's good to be back with you again. Thanks for listening. It's good to be here. We are going to carry on with Mark, aren't we, Jenny?
Yeah, this week we are looking at Mark chapter 10, 46 to the end.
Yeah, just to say that this is another one of those Sundays where there's a choice in the lectionary, but we're going to look at Mark chapter 10 because you can do Bible Sunday as well. But I think we're going to do this, which I think feels right to me because we've been going through Mark for quite a few months now, haven't we? And
yeah, and we're following the story really. So yeah,
apart from a lot of talk about bread in the summer, we've been with Mark for quite a while, so probably good to finish it, really, isn't it? Well, we're not finishing.
We won't finish the whole of Mark.
The book, but it is a significant moment, as I came to realise when I was looking at it and reading a little bit about it. So anyway, perhaps we can come on to that.
Absolutely. Let's hear it. I'm assuming you've got the words for us.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? So I have got the words. Here they come. I hope. Here it goes. So it's quite short this time. So are you reading it or am I?
I can read it.
Okay, you carry on.
So from verse 46, they came to Jericho. As he and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout out and say, "Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me." Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried out even more loudly, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stood still and said, "Call him here." And they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take heart, get up, he is calling you." So throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man said to him, "My teacher, let me see again." And Jesus said to him, "Go, your faith has made you well." And immediately he regained his sight and followed him on the way.
Okay, so Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, which,
yes,
as I understand, means son of Timaeus, son of Timaeus. Isn't that right? Isn't that what Bartimaeus means?
What?
Well, Bartimaeus means son of Timaeus. So for some reason, he's written his name was Bartimaeus,
Son of Timaeus.
son of Timaeus twice. Anyway, there you go.
Maybe his grandfather was Timaeus.
Maybe. But it is interesting that we get his name.
Yes, I've also done some reading because I didn't really have anything to say about it. I have literally kind of went, yeah, he's healed somebody else. What has everyone else got to say about this?
Okay, so did you gain any significance from the fact in your reading that because he's named, we don't get the names of many of the people that Jesus healed. Do we get one or two? We do get.
Yeah, all I got was it's unusual for him to be named, and they went through the people that he'd healed that he hadn't named.
Okay.
Along with other bits of the thing that were unusual, which we'll come back to. But so is there a significance of why he was named? Have you managed to find that?
I haven't managed to find any. I don't know whether you can. I don't know. I mean, it's all you're always reading into the text, aren't you? Anyway, anyone is, so anyone can make their own. I kind of just wondered. This is completely Mark's idle speculation, as in me, Mark, not the writer of the Gospel of Mark. That maybe they knew him later on in the early church. It says he followed on the way, and I'm sure we'll come on to that. But I don't know. Maybe he was known to some people. Maybe. But it is what I picked up is that it's actually an important healing because and we lose this from our place in the lectionary really, or in the calendar where we're reading it, because when you turn over to the next verse, if you notice that, if you would look at it, is the triumphal entry into Jerusalem. So this marks the end of, in a sense, Jesus's Galilean ministry and journey to Jerusalem. We've been traveling to Jerusalem since the confession at Caesarea Philippi, haven't we? And this is the last thing.
Absolutely. I was reading that it's basically he's the last disciple, but certainly the last named follower.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, I thought it was a bit of a jump, really, because although, yes, we're going into Jerusalem, it doesn't mean anybody else didn't join afterwards. So he's the last disciple, the last one named.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, clearly he's not the last disciple, as we like to think we're followers of Jesus as well. But it's the last one named, and it's the last one in Mark. It is the last disciple in Mark before they enter Jerusalem. I think that's interesting, actually. I like that. I don't quite know what I'm going to do with it, but I like it.
Well, I suppose it might be why they would know him.
Yes.
And also he is unusual. I'm sure we're going to come to that in a minute. So
Yeah.
maybe he did make quite a name for himself, really, even though he's not named elsewhere. I mean,
So in a sense, we're really the week before Palm Sunday here, aren't we? If you were thinking, in a way, we're kind of hitting the pause button, and we're going to look at all sorts of other things like All Saints and Christmas and Epiphany and Lent, and then we're going to pick up this point again. So you've almost got to think, oh, okay, it's somewhere around the end of March, and this is where this fits into the story before we go and look at all sorts of other things again, and then pick it up again, at the end of Lent, isn't it?
It's a shame it does that in some ways, isn't it? Much easier to just read it all the way through.
Yeah, which is why I think actually, although the lectionary offers us another option for this Sunday, I think actually I'm going to check, because I was going to do the other option, but I think I'm going to do this as well, because it feels like it's important. Otherwise, you just kind of, oh, we were looking at Mark and now we're not. It needs some kind of, if
well,
not,
I
stop, then
bang
some
on about not taking Bible verses out of context, and then we just suddenly stop one and move on, don't we?
Story, but yeah, and that actually on a sort of slightly wider, but that is of course one of the problems with, one of the challenges that following the lectionary gives you, though it has other advantages. So there we go. But that's probably for another day.
That's certainly not a conversation to be recorded, I don't feel.
No, probably not.
I to keep
we're very good Anglicans, you and me, aren't we? Of course. Anyway,
absolutely.
back to blind Bartimaeus. So they're traveling on the road. They come to Jericho, so they're continuing their journey. Yeah, we're heading further south. Mark does give us its geographical location, and there we have a large crowd with Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, sitting by the roadside, and he cries out, "Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me!" And he really shouts it out, doesn't he? He wants to draw attention to himself.
So I'll just stop you there, because I have been to Jericho.
Yeah, go on and tell us about Jericho.
As everybody who's been on a pilgrimage will have been to Jericho. It's just one of those places. It is kind of in the middle of nowhere, although it was a massive traveller route all the way through. Actually, Jericho sits in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of it. I don't know whether that's relevant, but I just thought, as we're talking geographically. But I'm guessing he would have been well known, Bartimaeus, if he was sitting at that place in that route. And it was a stopping off point. So although there wasn't much there, it was where you would kind of get your food and water ready for the next part of the journey. Yeah, I'm just adding that to it.
What do we think of Bartimaeus's? It's interesting, I suppose. He is named, and yet he also names, isn't he? So he's named, and yet he names Jesus, son of David. It's one of the messianic claim there, I guess, isn't there? There's a kind of.
I mean, he's very definite, isn't he? I mean, I'm guessing he will have heard all the stories because of all the travellers going backwards and forwards. As I say, it was a commercial route, really. But yes, the fact that he definitely knows who he is, or definitely claims who he is.
I think what's interesting in terms of, obviously, all the way through Mark, and even till relatively recently, Jesus has been saying, don't tell people who I am, what's going on, be quiet about it. And now here we've got Bartimaeus shouting it out, and Jesus doesn't actually. Maybe it's just all too late for that now. We're kind of, Jesus is. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just another thought.
I'm never really convinced that he thought people would keep it quiet. I mean, the best way to spread a secret is to tell people it's a secret, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's definitely the quickest way to get word out.
But interestingly, other people then are be quiet, telling him to be quiet, but Jesus allows himself to be interrupted, which is one of the things that I read about, actually, which I thought was really interesting. And it's
okay.
Well, so And actually, bizarrely, this kind of links back to something in my previous life before I was a vicar, which I'll probably come back to. But the thought is that Jesus lets himself be interrupted. So, he's got a plan, he's got a mission, he knows where he's going, he knows he's going to Jerusalem. And maybe that's why, in some ways, people are saying to Bartimaeus, be quiet, leave him alone, he's a busy man, But no, Jesus allows himself to be interrupted. And the thing that links back, this is a strange memory for me, because I remember when I was back at Unigate Dairies, which no longer exists, but was my first job out of uni when I was working in the food industry. And we went to like a management training day that had the sort of, who at that time was the dairy manager. He was in charge of the site we were working on. And this conversation came up about whether you allowed yourself as a manager to be interrupted. And I remember thinking, no, I'm not going to sort of over spiritualize this and think that I remembered this passage from Mark 10 and, this is just a connection that I've made later. But, his sort of thing is I've got to stay focused. I shouldn't, don't allow yourself to be interrupted. And some of us a little bit lower down the food chain were saying, actually, we get interrupted all the time. So to what extent are interruptions part of what you have to do? And you have to allow yourself to be interrupted, and that we should welcome them, and that Jesus here is a model here of somebody, and this is obviously a question for us more in today, but Jesus allows himself to be interrupted, whereas we can find interruptions really frustrating, can't we? Oh, I just want to get this done, I've got my to-do list, and then somebody phones up or as an email comes in, I've just got to go and do that. But actually Jesus doesn't seem to view it that way.
I mean, it's not particularly relevant, but I'm interested that manager was trying to say that you shouldn't allow yourself to be interrupted, because I would have said a good manager does allow themselves to be interrupted. But the problem is, it is really irritating, isn't it? Because I'm quite focused. And that would be something you should be working towards and not trying to avoid.
Yeah, I suppose what's interesting to me is putting those two parts of my life together, if you like, and seeing, because I agree. I think, we do. I mean, and people listening to this, you might well be managers or at work, how do you feel about interruptions? Actually, it's quite a good practical outworking of this passage, because it is something you have to deal with, isn't it? And it is very easy to resent them, and it's easy for us to do that.
Yes, and it's very, I suppose interruptions are people focused, aren't they? So I'm thinking back to hospitality, where the teaching is not to look too busy. Don't walk around with a tea towel on your arm. Don't walk around with a pad looking as though you're going to do something. You've got to look as though you're available, because anything you're carrying means that you're not available. And that works in many industries, really. Yeah.
I mean, and this is I'm sure you've had many people say to you in your time in ministry, as I have to me and still do today, oh, I know you're busy, but and a part of me, a little bit of me dies when people say that to me. So, because it's like, it's not what I know. Something that's a really interesting other example. I don't want you to feel that, although the truth is sometimes I do feel that, and sometimes I do want to get things done. So how do we do that? Well,
I think, I think we sit in the middle of that. There are the people who think we're too busy for them, and you're right, it's really heartbreaking. And then the people that think you do nothing and are sitting at home and moan about it, hopefully. but yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I suppose we're never going to get that right. But I definitely would like people to feel and aspire for people to feel that I'm available to them, even if sometimes I always feel it inside. But I want people to feel that. And that's okay, because we're all human and we just have to keep working at it. But I like Jesus's example here. He is happy to be interrupted. And I think that's something which, as a minister for me, but in all of our lives, is worth reflecting on.
Do you really think that it's something that everybody else can take away? I mean, I think it's very much for us in ministry. Yeah, I suppose so. Actually, I'm just working.
I'm just using an example.
It's people focused, and actually, I think it's a good idea to be people focused.
So. I suppose I'm just using an example of that's an example that I remember from my previous life, if you like, in business. As a parent, how do we want to be interrupted by our children sometimes when we've got things to do?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair point. Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, I think it is something which. One of the other really interesting things, though, is how that works out. Going off a little bit of a tangent, but how that works in a modern world of having our smartphone on us, where somehow we can somehow value a phone call or a text or an email more than the person who's sitting opposite us. I don't know why we do that, but sometimes we do, I think. So,
and also it does lead to boundary issues because we can be constantly available, and that's not good for us either.
yeah. Yeah, and again, that's definitely a thing which isn't just a church by no means, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, the whole thing, there's a lot of talk in government circles, aren't there, about the right to switch off from your work, and you know, can your manager always get hold of you? So, but I think, yeah, coming back to this, Jesus, you know, people focused, how we, and I think probably is right to think about how he put boundaries about that. But Jesus certainly, coming back to Bartimaeus, doesn't mean interrupted. He doesn't mind being interrupted, I think, is an interesting point.
It's definitely worth exploring. It's, yeah. Okay.
So Jesus stood still. There we are. He's
Yeah.
stopping. That's quite a nice little comment on that, really. Jesus stood still and said, "Call him here." And they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take heart, get up, he is calling you." So he throws off his cloak and springs up and comes to Jesus. I like that as well. He sprang up. And
Because
here
as
we go.
somebody pointed out, he's
This is
only
another.
blind, he's not lame.
Well, yes, that's true. Okay, yes, okay. Good to know. And then you get this really interesting bit, don't you, in this conversation between them. Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" And interestingly, before, just one point to note about that, for just see what you think. This is the same question that Jesus has asked James and John in the previous passage, which I got from my commentary that I read. And in fact, if you look, it is the same. Teacher, and he said to them, "What is it you want me to do for you?" So you know,
Oh, yes.
that's really interesting, isn't it? So you've got this deliberate, you know, the same words. So yes, but Jesus doesn't. Yeah, okay.
Well, I like the fact that you've just pointed out it and seen the previous passage, because I always hear it preached, and I've probably done it myself, of like, of the disability kind of point of view. Don't assume that people want to be healed because you think, you know, not projecting your ideas of what perfect looks like on them, and Jesus isn't doing that. However, and I always feel it's a little bit, again, just taking a verse and making it say that, although
I think that's a valid point, to be fair.
I mean, there's an element of truth, but I just think, okay.
Okay.
But why did the commentary pick up on the fact that he'd said the same to James and John? What?
Well, there's a contrast in the question that's being because there's a contrast between what James and John are asking for, which is, we want to sit at your right and your left hand in your glory, we want these positions of power. And there's the contrast there with Bartimaeus, who's coming because he wants to see again. And therefore, one, in one sense, is coming with the right motivation. What could, you know, and of course you can broaden out seeing into physical seeing and spiritual seeing and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
So, you know, and James and John, who are coming with we want to be, you know, but that Jesus's response is the same to both of them, you know, in terms of, what do you want me to do?
So would you explore the question that I just said, which is basically, Jesus doesn't assume, or
I
we
mean,
shouldn't assume as
I
well.
quite like that, if I'm honest. Yes, I would. And I think that is interesting. And I think that is a good point. And as a coach, if I was putting my coaching hat on, that's a bit of a good coaching question, really. What do you want? What do you want from this? You know, we're not gonna just assume that I know best, and that, you know. So yeah, I do have a lot of sympathy for that, and I'm pleased I've got my coaching in that, and I'm pleased.
Maybe that's why I don't
see that little bit of a snigger that's going on.
Well, I'm just thinking maybe that's why it's just making. I mean, I know I've preached that before, and it's like, but it just makes me. And
why does it make you do that though?
Well, I think because I hate it when you ask me that. Like, what do you want from me? What do you want? Just because normally by the time I've got to that stage, I just want you to fix it.
Okay, right. I quite like that here. Jesus is doing a coaching question. That's good.
Yeah,
I'm quite pleased with that little bit of an insight I've just had. He says smugly. Yeah, but that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because, you know, even here, Jesus doesn't do that. So he invites Bartimaeus to take some responsibility for his situation, even though it seems obvious. Which I think relates something to your harvest talk from last week, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that kind of taking some responsibility. I'm not sure it makes him take responsibility, does it? I just think there's no assumptions. I suppose
Well,
it
that's
makes
something
him
else I
think
learned
about
from my
what he really wants, I
that's
suppose.
something else I learned from my management training, Jenny, about assumptions, isn't it?
You should never assume. Is that the one? Because it makes
That's
an
the
ass
one.
out of you and me.
Yeah, I don't know if we could say the word ass on here, but anyway, there you are.
Well, I say it every week.
Oh, you do in the commandments. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, we've really gone off on a tangent here. Okay, so yeah, but I think I'm going to hold on to that. I think he is inviting him to agree to some degree. Is it about taking responsibility or giving dignity, or are they linked?
Okay, I would say it's more giving dignity. I think the lack of assumption of what he wants is gives him dignity. I don't know whether it really gives him responsibility. He hasn't had to do very much apart from get up, has he? And as we've said before, he's blind, not lame.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
you could tie that. I mean, we don't watch it, but you could tie that into Strictly Come Dancing quite easily. With Chris Corsland, who can dance, but he can't see.
Okay, nice, yeah, yeah.
I
But
know you
to
would
watch
try not to see it,
that's
but
not. Why did you have to bring that in anyway? Okay.
it's for the masses.
No, it's true, Jenny, it's true, and I'm just showing how out of touch I am. Although I'm aware of what Chris Corsland is doing and that he's
Well,
dancing.
that's it. We don't actually have to watch it to be aware
No,
of that.
because you just watch it on TikTok, don't you? So that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the best way.
So giving him dignity, I like that. Yeah, okay. I mean,
Yeah,
that probably
think
is a
it's more
better way of
dignity.
phrasing it, that he gives him dignity. And then we get this really fascinating thing, girl, your faith has made you well. But again, there's a sort of
Wait,
giving of
wait, because I've just thought of something else.
Okay.
So also, he tells him to come to him rather than going to Bartimaeus. Now, this might be just a practical thing because there's a lot of people there and he's got to get to him. But I think telling him to come, come here also gives him a little bit of dignity. It's almost, how can I put it? It's instead of bending down to the person in the wheelchair, it's kind of going, oh no, just come over here, just like everybody else would do, and I will talk to you. Does that make sense?
It does. I think it's really, I do think that's interesting. Yes, it is interesting. I think, okay, controversial thought. So a lot of times we will say, we've got to go to people, not get them to come to us. I mean, how many times have you heard that?
Oh, it comes from higher church because they're panicking a little bit, but yes.
I don't know, that's true. We must go to them. And there is a truth in that. We must take God's message to people rather than expecting them to come to us and come into our churches. But actually, there is, people also have to make the move, don't they? We have to make the move. Is that right? Is that what you're seeing here in this story?
No, I'm adding to the dignity bit, really.
Yeah, but I think they're connected, aren't they?
Well, maybe, but he's perfectly capable of getting to Jesus. His disability doesn't mean that you have to kind of go to him and
Yeah. So there is a lot of dignity Jesus is giving Bartimaeus. A lot of.
So moving on to your bit of it, that he needs to
Well, again, I think you can see it through that lens, isn't it? I mean, I think the whole question about faith and around healing is always a difficult one because we can easily get out of verses like "Go, your faith has made you well." I mean, certainly that Bartimaeus is displaying faith. He is crying out. He is coming to Jesus. He is asking for healing. But
yeah. So actually, as we move on to the next bit, we can kind of say, so he comes to Jesus. He recognizes Jesus. He comes to Jesus, and then he follows Jesus. So he comes and then he goes, isn't it? Doesn't he?
Well, I'm more thinking about the whole thing that we can quite easily say, if people aren't healed, it's that, you can flip it round and, but whereas actually, if you just take it as a straightforward, actually, there's two things. Yes, Bartimaeus comes to Jesus and asks for healing. So he does display faith. And yet it's still Jesus is operative, if you like, for want of a better word, in the healing. And so, I think I like to see that as another expression of giving this man dignity. which I think is a real theme that actually does run. I think I would want to bring out, and probably will try and bring out when I look at it on Sunday. But
well, yeah, now I've spotted it, so will I.
yeah, yeah. And he regained his sight and followed him on the way. And of course, then you do turn over into the next chapter, and then he presumably is with them as they go to Jerusalem. He follows him. He goes,
and that's quite unusual too, isn't it? So in the other healing stories, obviously I've read this, I didn't pick up on it. They're told to be quiet, and they're sent home. A lot of them,
yeah,
well, most of them, go home. Either tell people or don't tell people, but go home. Whereas Bartimaeus joins them and follows them.
Yes, and joins them going to Jerusalem.
Now, obviously, I read that. Of course, Bartimaeus probably didn't have a home.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, and that comes back to where we started, which we probably need to do because we're just about out of time. But he is the last named disciple before they get to Jerusalem in Mark's gospel. And in a way, invites us. We're all invited to see, aren't we? And obviously, John does this more explicitly, really, in his healing of the blind man in John 9, I think it is, isn't it? Where, there's a more explicit linkage between spiritual and physical seeing. There is nonetheless that he gets to see.
Yes, I've got one more point that I read as well.
Okay,
because this is the second healing of sight within Mark.
Okay.
And the idea that Mark felt that he needed to say it again. We already know Jesus can heal sight, although he had the trouble last. This is not, Jesus has got better with it.
Sorry,
the last time he healed him,
I don't know, you paused a little bit then,
go.
so I don't know whether
Okay. So the last time, and I can't remember where it is in Mark, but I could probably find it. Remember, he healed the man, but then the man said, "Oh, it looks like tree trunks are walking around." And then he had another go. So this isn't Jesus getting better at it.
Right. Okay. What is it
then? So yeah, the idea was that this is more of a spiritual seeing as well as a physical seeing, whereas the other one was a physical healing. And
so the invitation is there for all of us in a way, isn't it? As we feel like we're blundering through life, to call out to Jesus, to come to him, to, in one sense, allow him to ask us, "What do you want?" And then,
what do you want?
What do you want? Do a bit of coaching with this. I'm going to slip that in there again.
Is that how you're going to say it as well? What do you want?
What do you want? What do you want? No.
Because that's how Jesus talks.
What do you want me to do for you? He follows him.
He says it like that.
Which is, of course, our invitation for all of us, isn't it? That's about it. That's half an hour, would you believe? So thank you again.
I wouldn't believe.
So if you have been listening all the way through, thank you for sticking it out. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please let us know how you get on with these. And we will be back next week to do some more.
We will. Come and hear us on Sunday and see what we actually come up with.
Yes, obviously, 11 o'clock at both St Margaret's and Holy Trinity South Kensington. You can hear some more thoughts on blind Bartimaeus. So hopefully we'll see you then or next week.
All right.
See you. Bye.
Bye.